New Guinea, and welcome to another episode of Business PNG. The government has tried to present an optimistic outlook in the 2017 budget as it contends with uncertain global economic conditions, depressed oil prices and the weakening of the kina against the US and Australian dollars. This year's budget is set at 13.3 billion kina.
The theme of the national budget is responsible fiscal consolidation for future growth and development, and is set at 13.3 billion against projected revenue of 11.4 billion. This translates into a deficit of 1.8 billion or 2.5% of GDP and a debt to GDP ratio of around 28.8% in 2017 and 2018, declining thereafter to 27% in 2021.
The expenditure under this reporting standard is 13,349.5 million kina has reported in Budget Volume 1, and it includes estimates for GST and bookmakers tax transfers to provinces. Likewise, revenue includes GST and bookmakers transfers to provinces totaling 11,473.1 million kina. Excluding these items, the expenditure appropriation for 2017 national budget remains at 12,965.4 million kina.
The budget is set within the government's overarching development frameworks, including Vision 2050 and the Development Strategy Plan. It has been framed against a relatively weak global economy, still recovering from low commodity prices and lower than anticipated growth of the domestic economy.
These appropriations reflect the government commitment for policy priorities and broad-based economic growth. With these appropriations, the onus is now on the nation's political leaders and public servants to ensure efficient service delivery and improve livelihoods of our people throughout the country.
The 2017 budget accommodates the government priority expenditures such as tuition fee-free education, free primary health care, infrastructure projects, agriculture and small to medium enterprises. Apart from funding these priorities, funding for the national general elections next year and 2018 APAC will be the highest priority for the 2017 budget. The central government's stock of debt continued to increase in 2016 as the government continued to borrow in the domestic and international markets to fund the deficit. A first tranche of $200 million of the Credit Suisse syndicated loan was dispersed in August this year. The second tranche is expected this month. Total expenditure in 2017 is estimated to be 13.3 billion, of which 11.9 billion is funded by the government of PNG and 1.4 billion is donor funded. As demonstrated, provinces receive the largest allocation with 3.9 billion, followed by administration with 2.7 billion.
Major appropriations include capital expenditure funding to subnational government includes 10 million kina for per province in direct funding through the Provincial Services Improvement Program, 10 million kina per district under the District Services Improvement Program, and 100,000 kina per LLG government under the Local Level Government Services Improvement Program. An additional 10,000 kina is allocated to each ward with the removal of fixed sector allocations. The provinces and districts now have greater flexibility in utilizing these funds to address total development priorities.
The PSIP, DSIP and LLGSIP funding takes up a significant portion of the 2017 budget. According to Treasury Secretary Dairi Vele, these are key areas that the government is focused at building capacity. The provinces receive 3.9 billion or 27.8% of the total budget. Major appropriations include 220 million kina for PSIP, 890 million kina for DSIP, 32.2 million for LLGSIP, and wards receives 61.8 million.
What we do when we distribute our PSIP and our DSIP is that we make sure that everybody is funded. So the money is there. The issue is that some people have got up to 40 million kina in the DSIP funds that they just can't spend. It's difficult, the Public Finance Management Act, Secretary Nangan brought a whole range of amendments that hopefully makes it a little bit easier. But people in the rural areas don't understand sometimes, that you have to run 3 tenders, that you've got a limit. So you have to get 3 quotes. Beyond that limit, then you've got to go to a public tender. And after that public tender, you have to have lawyers to make sure that you follow the law. You have to have accountants that make sure each toyer is accounted for. All of these types of things are new to our, some of our district and some of our provinces. So while some are able to, deploy the funds quite quickly, others are not able to.
However, these funds are not being allocated right down to the ward levels. The ward SIP was initiated specifically for capacity building and towards funding ward councillors' allowances.
What we've done with the ward is exactly the opposite. The funds are at the DSIP, PSIP level, and it's not getting down to the wards. And at the end of the day, the ward councillors are out there, doing their bit for the people at the ground level, at the operational level. The O'Neill Dion government started funding ward councillors over the last little bit. It's a program. I mean, these guys are working for, can you imagine, 13 years without being paid. I mean, it takes great fortitude and commitment to your people to just keep doing it out of your own pocket. So we've started that program. And I think now what we're trying to do is to make sure that at the ward level, now again, 10,000 kina may be not enough, but I'm sure it's going to change some lives.
Now, to what this all means, Papua New Guineans can expect increases in the prices of food, transportation, building materials, and possibly utilities as the government announced a projected increase in inflation from 5.7 to 6.6%. Importers and overseas travelers are also expected to be hit hard, with the kina expected to weaken by 9.2% against the US dollar and 13.4% against the Australian dollar. Health, education, provincial allocations and infrastructure remain the biggest components of spending. However, spending in those areas remain below the amount spent on debt repayment.
A rural cooperative is preparing to export its coffee to Australia tomorrow. Coffee Industry Corporation officers are carrying out quality tests on the beans. Neknasi Coffee Growers Cooperative from Bowana in the Morbe province will be exporting a container of coffee beans to Melbourne, Australia, using its reserve license from the Coffee Industry Corporation. The license allows them to export to the buyer and receive payment directly. The beans are expected to fetch a price in the several thousands for some 200 farmers. Bethany Hariman reports from Leh.
On the 1st of this month, Neknasi coffee bags were brought into the Swire bulking facility. It is a significant moment for a cooperative that has come very far since it was formed in 2008. Mongbung, a teacher by profession, was part of that success story. Today, they bring coffee bags to fill a container leaving for Melbourne in 2 weeks' time.
Something I'm right now, Miamas. So na tu mi tok thank you long nikuni tis spike. Mr. Vantemem na mo long export the coffee blomi. Now me like try first container long, anini long license, export license blomi where Coffee Industry Corporation long Papua New Guinea been purchasing 100 plus reserve license long Papua New Guinea. Tasol mi play no utilize him na Neknasi mi play first all one mi kisin na Miamas long Coffee Industry Corporation.
Morbe is contributing roughly 30,000 coffee bags for export. The Swire coffee bulking facility houses much of those bags.
And it involves a lot of people back from the village. So everyone's involved. We're happy to be part of that and help export their coffee to their destinations of their choice.
Swire coffee bulking manager Anthony Klink says the company is willing to support more local cooperatives.
We can roughly handle 50,000 bags per month with no problem. So we can actually add more to it. Again, it depends on volume. Not every time we have this amount of volume in the shed at any one time. But yeah, 50, even 70,000 bags we can put through the system.
Neknasi is a story that has never failed to inspire. The Boana-based coffee cooperative began in 2008 with 200 farmers who were looking for a means of income to pay for their children's education.
This is a cooperative Neknasi cooperative society.
It started with Mongbong, the elementary school teacher who was looking for a way to help parents pay for their children's school fees.
This is a cooperative now. So, me myself, more man made lo find him market lo coffee. Lo bring him money come lo community or come lo man made or papa mama lo almost buy school fee blow pigni blong na o pigni blong mas come up sabema.
They started the cooperative, built a road and bought vehicles. They are now building a coffee mill in Arab, and they are about to export their first container to Australia. The coffee cooperative has become fair trade certified. Their coffee is grown organically and they now have access to international markets.
Moni mi bla kisim, ami special coffee so mi bla mas kisim special price. All mas offer mi bla.
Fairtrade will also pay a premium to the cooperative for community development in Boana.
Ami stapin is long. Min by behind long all this organization am straight by mi kisim some percent or some development or some water supply or help him school, health or aid post and kind of.
Since Neknasi gained popularity for its people-driven approach to quality coffee farming, it is now exporting and moving to new heights. On the 2nd of this month, bean samples were collected by the CIC officers and checked for quality.
Orange, pineapple, passion fruit.
Rose Romalos, the senior quality officer, and team members are doing crucial checks before the beans leave the shore.
As per the green bean coffee, it's a PSC, it's good coffee. But in terms of the liquor assessment or the cup assessment, we will have to cup the coffee and tell the story. Orange citrus.
Neknasi's coffee has very good aroma, texture and taste.
A lot of roasters or buyers overseas, they would love to also trace back where the coffee is being sourced from. So the only way to see the traceability more evident is by having cooperatives have that direct market link to the overseas buyers. So
the Coffee Industry Corporation has been very supportive. Neknasi is the first cooperative to start exporting using its reserved license.
The shipment is expected to get on board on the 9th of November. It has been booked on Kokopo Chief, Void 1631. And our first part of the process is we've already sampled. Now it's the documentation part of it. As soon as the cupping quality check is done, we will wait for the next part, which is levy payment. For the 320 bags, they'll be paying 1,920 kina. That is normal 10 toya levy per kilo, which is applicable for all exports that is going out.
Last week at the Sione Kami Memorial Church in Port Moresby, the Bank of PNG saw their microfinance expansion project graduation for NCD and parts of the Central Province. The participants received their certificates of attainment in savings and budgeting and were introduced to the different banks. This was the 6th successful graduation under the Bank of Papua New Guinea's microfinance expansion project in the country. The microfinance expansion project has brought financial literacy to Mount Hagen, Enga, Goroka, Jiwaka, Medang, and now to Port Moresby and parts of the Central Province, seeing over 135,000 participants. Most of the 2,000 microfinance expansion project graduates are from the settlements around Port Moresby, Kaugere, Banana Block, and from even as far as Sogeri and parts of the Central Province. Most are low-income earners, making a living from the informal sector, selling betel nut, cigarettes, candy, garden food, cooked food, canned drinks, and so on. Some are community workers and housewives, whom have only but their primary school education. And now they have certificates of attainment in savings and budgeting and have been introduced to the different banks.
My name is Kila Koyara, and I'm from Central Mix Gulf Province.
My current position is a pastor of Foursquare Church, Unity Foursquare Church at Gerehu. After receiving this, I know that it has changed my life from the past to my future. There's a bright and a hope in front of me. And then with this, I know that it will change my life. And I will pass on these skills down to my neighbors and my families. And then I'll invite more of my families or my friends, whether male or female, to attend more of these chef programs in future.
Representatives from the Bank of PNG, Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Asian Development Bank and Layman's Professional Services have expressed how proud they were of the participants and were excited to see them analyze the different financial options available to make financial decisions.
Financial literacy program is something we can't do without. It's so fundamental, so important, and it's the road map where we can see financial inclusion, something where all man can participate inside monetized economy below yellow Papua New Guinea. Through financial literacy, that people can truly and meaningfully use the knowledge and information to have access to a bank account, and also to meaningfully use bank products and services to improve their livelihoods. It's very important. The next strategy that we will have, and that's why we have our friends from AFC here with us, to put together the next strategy for 2016-17 up to 2020. We are stating very clearly that our vision for the next 4 or 5 years and even beyond is that financial literacy, that all Papua New Guineans must be financially competent.
The project was launched in April 2012, aimed to increase financial inclusion in PNG and provide financial literacy training to 130,000 people by the end of 2018, but has already exceeded this goal by 5,000 people. It continues to support the economic and social empowerment of women, with women making up almost half of all trainees to date.
My name is Kathy Epi. I come from I live in a settlement at Korobosia. It's Section 84, and I represent a group of Weguso, Women and Youth Community. It's a recently established group we formed, and we are going into getting trainings like this. And this literacy training, financial literacy training has really helped the women in the community. These are women who are illiterate, women who have not gone into education, higher education level. But through this financial literacy training, we have learned a lot.
About 12 years ago, ADB began a partnership with the Papua New Guinea government, the Australian government, and the Bank of PNG to bring financial services to the people of Papua New Guinea. Since then, the landscape of the microfinance industry in Papua New Guinea has changed significantly. For example, PNG has now a national financial inclusion strategy. 5 licensed microbanks have been established that specifically service low-income populations, and with new technologies available, microbanks and commercial banks alike have started to roll out branchless banking services to reach more customers in more remote areas. The microfinance expansion project, co-financed by the Australian and PNG governments, and the ADB will further promote development of the industry and allow more people to access financial services and ensure that people have the skills to use them. The project is also supporting lending to micro and small enterprises through a risk share facility which is working with partner financial institutions.
Financial literacy is the combination of consumers and investors' understanding of financial products and concepts, and their ability and confidence to appreciate financial risks and opportunities, to make informed choices, to know where to go for help, and to take other effective actions to improve their financial well-being. The Bank of Papua New Guinea and their partners are continuing to bring financial literacy to the rest of the country. A financially literate country translates to a sound economy. And that's all from us tonight. For more business news, or if you would like to view this episode again, visit EMTV online at the URL at the bottom of the screen, or for up-to-the-minute business news and updates, like our page on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter at BusinessPNG or on Tumblr. Until next week, have a pleasant evening. I'm Michelle Bird, and this was Business PNG.